So you've heard about Kava, you got yourself a bag of medium grind, but now you're staring at it like, what the heck do I do with this now? Don't worry, we got you. We are gonna show you just how easy it is to make Kava at home, even if you've never touched it before in your life. My name is Heidi, and I am the host of Kava and Kettlebells, and I have been a personal trainer for over 6 years now.
Hey, what's up, everyone? I am Charles. I'm a fitness fanatic, and I found Kava when I was in the Air Force, when I was looking for a alcohol-free option that was actually legal. So now we are going to take you into a whole how do you make Kava, because trust me, when we first got into Kava and we got that powder, we were
very confused, very overwhelmed,
right, on what to do with it. There's multiple methods out there, but at the end of the day, we like to keep it very, very simple. So please follow along, watch these next couple of videos, and then we'll wrap it up.
All right, let's go.
All right, so now we are going to traditionally prepare our Kava. And again, when we're talking about traditional Kava, we're talking about the medium grind. So that's the Kava that's not instant, it's not micronized, it's not extract. It comes just like a powder, right? So a coarse powder, sometimes you have to pay on the brand. It could be a little bit more finer. It could be a little more coarser. For today's, I'm using Kavas. Now, Kava, great brand. Get them a lot on Amazon. They have all their offerings on there. And this is their Vanuatu Waka, which is a little bit more of a heavier cultivar. And typically we like more, kind of heavy cultivars. That's what we tend to drink. Heavy is more sedating, kind of more for like the body, versus more heady Kavas are kind of more like uplifting, kind of a little bit more euphoric. So when we prepare Kava, I want you to think about this. Dilution is the solution. So just like back when you were taking drug tests back in the day, you got pee in the cup, right? It's all about dilution. Dilution is the solution. So no matter what you see out there when it comes to making Kava, you can always make it stronger or more diluted based on your own personal preferences. And this is what I want you not to get too hung up on, because you can go online, you can see all the ratios out there. And yes, there's general rules of thumb, but for us personally, sometimes we like a more stronger Kava. So we'll use less water and more powder. And then sometimes if we know like we're having friends over and we want to have a lot of Kava on hand, we will dilute it a little bit. That way there's more Kava to go around, just because there's more liquid, more volume, right? Now, I'm going to give a just kind of rough overview of how I make Kava. So generally speaking, for every 2 to 4 tablespoons of powder, right? So tablespoon right here. I feel like I'm making like a cooking show right now. You're going to do 8 to 12 ounces of water. Okay. So 2 to 4 tablespoons of Kava powder. Typically you want to use between 8 to 12 ounces of water to strain it. Now today I'm making a little bit more. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do half a cup of powder. Now half a cup of powder, that's 8 tablespoons. Now what I want to do with this, and how I personally like to prepare my Kava, is I like to use warm water, not hot water, not cold water. I like warm water because personally, I feel like it kind of breaks it up a little bit better when I'm straining, makes it a little bit more, I don't know how to word, not like digestible, makes it more, I don't know. You guys make up a word, you tell me in the comments, but it just makes it easier to break up. So right here, I have, this is roughly about 35, maybe 40 ounces of water. So this whole, thing right here is 2 quarts, and I got just over a quart of water in here. So what I do, I go ahead and pour the water into my Tanoa. Now you might be asking yourself, what is this? So this is a handcrafted Tanoa. This actually comes from Vinaka Kava. We have done reviews on them in the past, and we have had the owner on the show. And a Tanoa is traditionally how Kava is consumed out in the Pacific Islands. They use a Tanoa to serve the Kava. And obviously, we have one. You can get them on different vendors. Again, ours is Kava Vinaka. and it's a wood bowl that you can mix your kava in. You can prep it all in there, and but at the end of the day, you can just use you can use a pot. You don't have to have it to Noah. We just like using them. All right. How to actually make the kava. Now, to make kava, you need a strainer bag. Now, when you look for strainer bags, you want to look for something that's around 70 to about 85 microns. That's a unit of measurement for how big the little holes in the actual cloth is. Now, you'll see sometimes people will use like cheesecloths, or I've even heard of like people using like old like t-shirts when they make kava. Just get a bag. Like, come on, they're like a couple bucks on Amazon. Just get a bag. And what I do is I go ahead, I put the bag in the water. I get in there a little bit, right? And next up, I just take my kava like such, and I bring it down there and I drop it off, just like dropping the kids off at the swimming pool. It's a poop joke, in case you guys didn't get that one. All right, at that point, what I like to do is just like an initial steep. So again, I'm just dunking the kids. Actually, that doesn't sound that good. No, I'm dunking the kava in there, right? And right now, I'm just getting the kava just kind of nice in there. And you can start, kind of seeing it's already starting to make somewhat of a brownish water, okay? Right now, I'm just steeping. That's all I'm doing. I like to kind of do that just to get the kava in there, get it nice and wet. That's what she said. And then from there, I start actually using my hand. What I do is I use my right hand and I hold the bag. And with my left hand, I get in there and I start squeezing or kneading, whatever term that you want to use, guys. This is a all-inclusive zone for grammar, vocabulary. So then I just get in there and I just start kneading with my hands, squeezing, getting all of it out there. And as you can see, the water starts actually getting darker, right? So now you get that nice brown, muddy water. When you pull the kava out, just like you can see a little bit kind of comes through. But again, a good bag, you shouldn't have your kava coming out. If kava is starting to come out of your bag, either you're using like instant kava or micronized kava, and your micron unit is too large, so the kava is starting to come out of the bag. But you don't want a bag that's too small, because then nothing will come out. So again, getting back in there, and I'm just squeezing. I'm straining. And the rule of thumb for me, typically what I go by is once I have strained it for a little bit, if I can put my finger in there and I don't see my finger, yeah, get up nice in there. See? Finger in, boop, can't see my finger. I know right there my kava is starting to get in a good spot, okay? Because you don't want the kava super diluted, because then it'll just suck. And your friends will be upset with you, and they'll never come back to you again when you're making kava. Or for yourself, you might not just get the effects that you want out of it. So you want to have a decent ratio. But again, don't get too caught up in the ratio. Remember, about every 2 to 4 tablespoons of kava powder, roughly 8 to 12 ounces of water. Now, a lot of times, though, again, like I said, it might change. We've done a gallon of water for 1 cup of kava powder. And again, that's like for having like friends over, and the dilution there, like I said, sometimes if you're just having more people over, you want more kava to have, you can just dilute it some so it's not as strong, and you're actually extending your powder per serving, right? But if like you're just by yourself and you just want to make like a cup of kava for yourself, and you don't like drinking a lot of kava, maybe the taste like really just doesn't sit with you, what you could do is all right, let's say you're doing a single serving. So 2 tablespoons of kava. Instead of 8 ounces of water, you could do 6 ounces of water. That'll make a very, very potent drink. But again, you're going to be consuming less liquid, so it's going to be easier for you to take down. Now, let's say that you prefer to sip on kava. I know a lot of people that do, but you just want to have a couple of drinks. For that 2 tablespoons of kava, you could do, maybe 12 ounces, maybe 14 ounces of water when you prep that kava. It's going to be very diluted, but you'll get, multiple shells out of it versus, one shell. So as I'm going through here again, I'm getting some last squeezes in. Sometimes I like to pull it out, kind of do a nice squeeze like this. Get a nice picture out of that, something like that. I'm working on my biceps when I'm doing that. So you get a little workout in there too when you're doing that. But at the end of the day, guys, you take the kava powder, you put it into a micron bag, right? A strainer bag, or, a dirty sock, whatever you might have. I'm just kidding. No, please get a bag. Wash your hands before you start making kava. Wear gloves, do something. And like you just see, you put it in the water and you literally just sit there and you squeeze and you strain. And it's that simple, guys. I'm telling you, it's not hard. A lot of people are afraid to get kava, especially the traditional kava, because you're like, oh, it's too time consuming. I don't know how to make it. Guys, it is super easy. Throw kava in the bag. Find yourself a bowl or get yourself a nice Tanoa. And you just squeeze and you strain. And that is it. And so when I'm all done, sometimes every now and then, I'll take the leftover kava in here and I'll even transfer it to a second bowl, right, with water in there. And I'll do another strain to try to get all the extra out of there. And then I'll take that, what I call the second wash, and then I'll dump it into this one right here. So I get even more out of my kava when I do that. But overall, this made a couple servings of kava for us right here. Looks nice and beautiful. I'm about to have some right now because, you make kava, it just makes you want to drink it. So let's get this thing going. All right, guys, sweet. All righty, next up. So I just showed you how to do the traditional kava powder and the traditional method, which is using a strainer bag. And you're sitting there and you're squeezing, you're doing all the good stuff. Like I said, you're getting that forearm workout, that bicep workout. The next thing, this is probably Heidi and I's favorite contraption. This is called the All-You Ball. Now, the All-You Ball is made by Kavafied. They're an awesome brand. They got a good selection of kava, and they got a lot of kava contraptions to help you make kava. So they have literally, like I said, they got the All-You Ball right here. They also have other things out there to help you make kava, but the All-You Ball. Now, this will not make you a big, serving like we just did with the traditional strainer bag, right? The All-You Ball is a little bit more for single servings, or when you're in a pinch, or if you're traveling, or if, let's just be honest, like just straight up, you just don't want to sit there and squeeze kava in a bag and do that. You want something kind of quick. The All-You Ball solves all that problem. Now, the All-You Ball, you can get this on Kavafied's website, or you get it on Amazon. That's where we get that. Usually for us, an All-You Ball lasts about 6 months, 6 to 8 months. I've heard some people using them for a year plus, or some people going through them in a couple months. So what this is, though, so the All-You Ball, essentially it is a little contraption that you put kava in, you close it up, and then you put into a shaker cup and you just shake it up and it makes you a single serving of kava. Now, the key with the All-You Ball is you don't want to overpack this thing. And in fact, it kind of keeps it to a single serving because if you remember from our last lesson with the bag, how many tablespoons of kava to water? We said about 2 to 4 to about 8 to 12 ounces of water. Now, in this cup right here, I have 10 ounces of warm water to help it break down. And I'm going to take my, again, Koa Kava, traditional Vanuatu waka, and I'm going to get myself 2 tablespoons. So 1, drop it into the All-You Ball, and then 2, drop it into the All-You Ball. Then all you do is you just twist it up, close it up. It's like a little spaceship full of kava. And the spaceship just crashed, boom, went to the ocean. Now what we do, again, like Kavafied makes their own, like, blender bottles and stuff like that. These are literally just like shaker cups that I use for pre-workout, all that kind of stuff like that. So you can use anything. You probably like just find something that can close up and you can shake water in and it'll do. The key is, again, the dilution of it and how much kava you put in. So knowing that you don't want to overpack the algae ball, again, you don't want to go over 2 tablespoons in the ball. You can do 1 tablespoon. So if you're, lightweight, you don't want a lot, just put 1 tablespoon in there. But then, keep in mind that this, again, is a single serving, right? So if you're going to have people over or you're making this for yourself and your friends, you're going to be doing a lot of shaking. So you'll be getting, it's like that, what was that, the shake weight thing? You're going to be sitting there doing this, right, for all night making this. So again, for like Hy and I, we usually do this like in the evenings. If we just want like a couple of shells of kava, we want something quick and easy, we'll do this. So I put it in there, and then pretty much for 60 seconds, you just shake it up, right? And as you can see, look at that. It's already starting to get the kava out of there. And you just keep on shaking. Switch it up. Kind of like a bartender almost. Like, what is that, like a martini? When they do like the tricks and they like throw it around and they shake it up and all that kind of stuff. Fuck that, man. We drink kava over here. Keep on shaking. All right, we'll call that a minute, okay? Because it's about out of there. Now, as you can see, this made pretty much the exact same thing that you would get if you were straining it in a strainer bag, just not the amount that you could do with a bag. It's perfect, like I said, for a single serving. Once this is all shaken up, what I like to do is I'll actually grab, pardon me, I'll grab a cup, right? Boom. There's a serving. Okay. Then what I'll do with that same kava in there, okay, as you just saw, I just pour it out. That's the same kava I used. Then what I'll do is I'll go over, I'll add some extra water in there. Not as much this time, okay? So that's about probably 4 ounces I'll do in there. And I'll shake it up. Now, as you can see, typically a lot of times you get what I call, again, a second wash out of that same kava that you use. So you got your first serving right here. And then, obviously you could keep on shaking up more. Then you got a second serving in there. That second serving is going to be diluted. Okay, it's not going to be as strong as this one, but you're still utilizing the most kava that you can get. Again, bang for your buck. Kava is not the cheapest thing, so I'm trying to help you guys out, trying to make you help stretch your kava. That way you get the most out of it. Algae ball, one of my favorite things to use. Again, makes prep super easy. It's on Amazon for like less than $20 for a ball. Just go ahead and get yourself one. We travel all the time, so we always bring this with us when we travel. We bring a shaker cup, we bring the algae ball, and our nutritional powder. That way, we don't need to rely on micronized or instant kava, which is a lot more expensive than your traditional kava. Cool. Hope that helped, guys.
All right, so that shows you just truly how easy it is to make kava at home. Yes, it may be a little time consuming, but again, if you've listened to us before, you know that we enjoy that. We just hang out in the kitchen, we talk, and we prepare kava, and it's fun. So it's the secret that, the kava bars don't want you to know. It's really not that difficult. So we really hope that you try it on your own. But now that it's made, what do you do now?
Drink this.
Yes, drink it, chug it. You raise it, boola, and you chug it.
No, but for real. So like how you said, it's not that hard to make it. And again, guys, at the end of the day, you're taking that powder, you're throwing it into a strainer bag, and you are kneading it within, a bucket, jar, whatever of your choice. You're just mixing that kava up, you're straining it, making that nice brown, muddy water for you then to enjoy. So if you notice, like in that video, I use warm to sometimes, kind of like, I guess like warm hot, not like hot, but like,
Yeah, it's
what do you
warm.
call that? Like hot tub temperature?
Hot to touch, warm to touch.
Warm to touch?
Like,
yeah, okay. So
it's warm.
but don't be burning yourself. Don't do hot water. You just want warm water.
And so, yeah, you don't want to do boiling water. So we have a spigot that is like automatically hot. So we use that, and even that is too hot to just use and put your hands in right away. So we usually fill that, let it kind of sit while we're getting everything ready, and it'll kind of cool down a little bit. So you could heat it up, on the stove if you want, but you don't want there to be any bubbles, like no bubbles of any sort. Otherwise it's way too hot. You don't want to burn yourself.
Don't want bubble trouble.
But yeah, bubble trouble. I like that. Yes.
So, ultimately though, I'll be honest, like hot plain kava does not taste the best.
Disgusting. Okay? He'll do it, like he'll drink it and he'll serve it to me sometimes. And I'm like, excuse me, sir, I'm offended that you even gave this to me. It is not pleasant.
No. So when you're done making the kava, ideally you want to serve that chilled. So that means either, putting it into a cup and then putting ice cubes into it. Or what we do a lot of times, especially when we make a big batch, like you saw when we were doing the making it with a Tanoa, right? That's not gonna, be for one sitting. That's gonna be for, probably a night or two. So what we'll do is that we'll transfer that to a, whether it's bottles or a jug, and then we'll put that in the fridge, and that makes it nice and chilled. And honestly, for people, the taste of kava is one of the biggest barriers, right? And when you have it really cold, it actually does help the taste somewhat.
Yeah, I totally agree. It makes a huge difference having it cold. The only hard part is it can be hard to chug. You do need to chug it. It's not meant to sip daintily. It's meant to throw it back and try and get as much down in one gulp as you can. And so when it is really cold, that makes it more challenging to chug. But it's better cold. So even if you put it in the refrigerator and then let it get to a little bit more, warm up a little bit on the counter before you serve it, either way, it's good cold. What you can also do though is, again, if the taste is problematic for you, you can add things to kind of spice it up a little. Honey is a really great one. Like when it's warm, you can put honey in it to kind of sweeten it. You can add cinnamon. Cinnamon is really common. You can also add things like coconut milk. The fatty in the coconut milk is really good. It helps kind of propitiate it a little bit more, make it a little bit stronger. Or you can add like coconut water. You can even add juice. So there's lots of things you can do to kind of play around with it, figure out what's gonna, be good for you. Or what I like to do is chase it with fruit. So I just, chug it down, and then I have a little bowl of like oranges or pineapple or strawberries, and I just munch on those, and you're good to go.
Yeah, and I would say, when you are prepping the kava, how you just mentioned using coconut milk or coconut water, it's very easy to strain the kava in coconut water. But if you're going to do coconut milk, what I would suggest, again, going back to the whole dilution thing, do like 1-to-1 ratios, like 1 cup of water to 1 cup of milk. And that just helps it, again, not be overly saturated with milk, because straining kava in just coconut milk, again, coconut milk is very, very like thick.
Yeah.
It's very, very fatty, and it makes it a little bit tougher to actually strain within it. So again, you just want to dilute that a little bit. You don't need a ton of coconut milk, right? Like, yes, the MCTs in coconut milk do help potentiate the kava lactones to make it a little bit stronger. But again, you don't need to be chugging down, whole thing in coconut milk. You just want to have a little bit in there. Again, help with the taste and help potentiate the kava lactones.
Yeah, and I don't even like some people will strain it in the coconut milk. I don't really like that. Like, I think it's best to strain it in the water. You can strain it in coconut water if you want, but I wouldn't really strain it in the coconut milk. If you want, you can add a splash of coconut milk or a splash of coconut cream to it, but you definitely don't want it to be too heavy with the cream, because that could upset your stomach, as well. So go light on the cream, and then if you want a little bit more, you can add a little bit more, but always start with less is more, and then you can, again, just add more if you want to.
Yeah, and one thing too, I want y'all to think about when it comes to prepping your own kava. And if you're new to kava, then you might not have never been to a kava bar before. Or if you have been to kava bars, you probably know that in general, it's a little bit more expensive. And we always tell people, Kava, you don't have to go to a Kava bar to enjoy it. You can make it at home, and it comes down to it is much cheaper to make Kava at home. It's way more cost effective. And that medium grind powder, the kind that you have to strain, it's also more cost effective than all the instant and the micronized Kavas out there as well. Extracts too. So in our opinion, just the traditional medium grind Kava is the best. You get the most varieties with that. You get the most, effects from it. And again, it's the most cost effective. So right now, life's expensive, right? Things are going up, inflation, all that. Yeah. But at the end of the day, we realize that people out there are trying to, stretch their dollar. And Kava is not the cheapest thing in general, especially Kava bars. So to really stretch your dollar, I recommend sticking with the traditional grind, the medium grind, and just making it at home. And if you are new to Kava, you probably have, or you might not have heard that Kava has a reverse tolerance. So that means the more you drink Kava, the less that you need.
Which is fantastic if you drink it regularly. Charles and I drink it very regularly. So every, cultivar is a little bit different, but there are some where we just need one shell and we feel it, so 1 to 2 shells and we're good to go. So it's not something that in the beginning, it will take more to have you start feeling those effects. So that's why you have to drink it regularly, like 5 to 7 days. Sometimes it takes people at first to really feel those full effects. But once you feel those full effects, if you're consistent with it, it only takes like 1 or 2 shells and you're good to go.
Yeah, that is one thing too. Again, when you're just starting your Kava journey, it's a lot more cost effective to just make it at home. And again, stay away from like the extracts and things like that. Just go with traditional Kava powder. We just showed you 2 easy ways to make it. So again, you can use a strainer bag, or if you're just, for yourself, or you just want single servings, that Alu ball really is a game changer. Literally, you put, like you just saw, right? You put a little bit in that ball, you shake up for 60 seconds, and then boom, you have, 1 or 2 shells of Kava right there that's ready within, I don't know, what does it take, 3 minutes at most to do all that?
Yeah, and we're going to link everything that we used into the description, but I want to say over and over again that we are not sponsored or affiliated with these companies at all, but these are just companies that we really like. So you can really trust that, these are things that really helped us ease into Kava, and we really think they're going to help you as well. So try them out and let us know what you think. Drop in the comments if you already have a favorite, if you prefer, straining it or using the Alu ball. And then, okay, you drink it. So what do we do now with all this extra? Can we keep it?
I think you can.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. Don't waste it. Don't dump it down the drain.
To toss it out.
Yeah, don't do that. So you can definitely save Kava. So it lasts for about, I would say, 3 to 4 days in the fridge. You just want to keep it, again, cold. It can sit out. Like it could sit out for a few hours. It's not going to go bad sitting out on the counter. We've even had some sitting out all night and Charles drank it the next day. Like it's fine. It's not a big deal. But it will last longer and taste better if you keep it in the fridge. And when it gets old, it's not bad for you. It's not like it's going rotten and it's going to make you sick. It'll just kind of taste bad. So it might start to taste a little skunky, a little sour almost. But it's not, you're not going to get sick. It just doesn't taste very good.
And I noticed this too. It does seem to kind of like lose some of its potency. Like, because I will admit I have drinking some very old Kava that I might or might not have forgotten about.
Found it in the back of the fridge.
And, yeah.
Try it out.
So we have, at our house, we have a couple of fridges, and sometimes you don't always go to the same fridge, but then you find little surprises in there.
You're like, exciting!
Somebody got a reward.
Oh my God. If you happen to know like the little meme thing we're talking about, drop it in the comments.
Probably very rare, but regardless, I have drinking some Kava that was probably a little past when I should drink it, but
But he drank it anyways.
and that was fine. It just it tasted off, and again, it just wasn't as potent as making that fresh Kava boom right out of the bag, right there at the source. And so long story short, though, like if you're like like us, we're meal preppers, so like we'll make all of our like carbs or rice or potatoes and like our meats and stuff, then we'll keep it in the fridge for a couple of days. That way we can, make our meals from that for the day. Same thing like with Kava, right? So if you don't have the time in the week and you want to do the traditional style, don't be afraid to make a big batch on Sunday and, kind of drink it for the next 3, 4, 5 days even.
Yeah, it's great. You come home, instead of opening up a beer, having a glass of wine, you already have that Kava in the fridge, pour it in a glass and enjoy.
Yeah. Well, cool, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed the videos. And if you are a Kava pro, drop in the comments what you do to make your Kava excellent. And if you are a newbie, hopefully this kind of ease some of the anxiety about making Kava. Guys, it's super simple. Don't worry about it.
And if you still have any questions, drop in the comments and we will get back to you as soon as we can. All right, guys, thanks for tuning in.
All right, we'll see y'all.
Welcome to Kava and Kettlebells, where we talk about Kava, fitness, and life. Let's get Kava-fied.